Welcome back, Freedom Savers. So I have been spending 2 of my 3 days off doing nothing but calculations for retirement. I am trying to figure out how I can retire in 6 years. Even though right now my entire net worth is about $81,000 and I still have $33,000 in debt. So I've been racking my brain, looking at different scenarios, what my very best options are, and as you know, I'm going to be moving and getting a roommate to save a ton of money and save a crap load of my income. So what I figured out is it's possible for me, if I live on rice and beans and do my plan, my FIRE plan, to save approximately $95,000 to $120,000 in the next 6 years. And that will be enough for me to retire at age 55. I believe I have found the plan that I'm going to go with, and I'm very excited with it, and I want to go over that with you a little bit and show you how this is going to be possible. So, of course, I'm going to be maxing out my Roth every single year. And that's only going to bring the value, or actually maybe not the value, but it will bring the amount that I deposit into it to $46,500 total. And then any growth, of course, or loss, depending on what the market does. And then I'm going to be investing the rest into my 401k, which, by the way, is only going to have the total stock market fund. That's it, 100% stocks. So that's my plan. And if I'm saving somewhere over 70+% of my income, which is the plan, I should be able to save over $95,000. And with overtime, I might be able to even get that up to $125,000 into the 401k, which would be the absolute max with catch-up contributions since I'm turning 50 years old next year. Assuming that I'm going to have $200,000 at age 55, so that'll be $203,000, somewhere in that range. That's the plan, and the majority of that will be in my 401k, and $46,500 of it will be in my Roth. Now, this isn't taking into account any growth at all, right? So the growth that happens over the next 6 years is all bonus, all right? So I'm doing a very conservative plan here to make sure that this is actually achievable, and I'll go over all the reasons that this is very conservative here shortly. But this is the calculations. So this is the Roth, okay? I'm focusing my entire retirement around the Roth IRA, and I'm doing that because there are so many benefits to the Roth IRA. One, I have access to the contributions before age 59 and a half. And 2, it is completely tax-free. So, of course, as I retire at 55, this is going to be the first year at 55, I'm not going to be able to do anything. I'm going to transfer my 401k into a traditional IRA that year. And then I'm going to take 4% of my Roth IRA out, which is only $655 a month. Sorry, correction. That's only $155 a month. I will be getting a pension of approximately $1,000 a month. I am counting on spending about half of that, $500 of it, on health care. I'm planning on not paying any taxes whatsoever on that because I have a $12,000 personal standard deduction. So therefore, the standard deduction moots out any taxes due on pension. So, the first year I will transfer my 401k, convert it all over to a traditional IRA. There's no tax problems with doing that. Starting the next year, at age 56, I will start doing 401k, IRA rollovers to the Roth. But I am making such little income between the $500 I have left over in the pension after paying for health care and the 4% I actually take out of the Roth, which is small amounts. I'm making such a little income of $655 a month that I cannot afford to pay taxes. Therefore, I'm going to keep my taxable income under the 10% range, which makes it free, no taxes to be paid. So I will be transferring 95 to 9,700. 9,700 is actually the current limit. I'll be transferring $95 to $9,700 a year all the way until age 62, when I start getting Social Security. And yes, I will be taking my Social Security early. And that's a totally different discussion of why I'm doing that. But for the most part, I believe that is best for me. Social Security should bring in about $1,700 a month for me from everything I've seen. So, since I will have extra money, my income will actually slightly go up over those first 7 years, and it'll jump with that $1,700 a month right there to $2,300. So now I can afford to pay some taxes. So I'm going to start putting in more money from the IRA and roll it over into the Roth. And this all needs to be done before age 70 and a half, when mandatory or required distributions happen on the traditional IRA. And on the Roth, there is no mandatory distributions. So anyways, so now I'll be able to transfer more of that $200,000 into the Roth over the next 7 or 8 years. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 8 years. And I will be in the 12% tax bracket at that point. And that is including the Social Security and the withdrawals from the IRA. So this will put me in the 12% tax bracket, and Social Security is actually taxed at a less amount. So actually about 50% of my Social Security will be taxed at that point. And then once I reach 70, the entire IRA will be rolled over into the Roth, so there will be no required minimum distributions. Also at 70, the taxes will drop to practically nothing. This is $8.33 a month is what I'm figuring here. And that's basically figuring about $100 a year in taxes, which is all it's really going to come to, because the Social Security at that point will probably not be taxed at all. And then the withdrawals will be completely tax-free because they're coming from a Roth. Now, there are other options with this. I could always withdraw straight from the 401k and pay the 10% penalty, but not pay taxes. So I could withdraw less than $9,700 or up to $9,700 a year and not pay taxes and just pay 10%. And 10% is a lot cheaper than even 12% tax range, let alone the 22 to 24% I'm in now. So yeah, this is the plan. And as you can see from this, what this is going to allow with the 4% deal is for my income to continually grow for the rest of my life. Not by a lot, but by a little bit every single year. And it starts out super low with only $655 a month. Now, there's a lot of things involved in this. One, I'm only using a 5.2% growth on my Roth. That's going to be 3.2% average in dividends and 2% average in growth. So I think 5.2% is very conservative for a 100% stock portfolio. Secondly, I'm assuming healthcare is $500 a month. It could be less, etc., etc. Let me go over my logic on this. But as you can see, the calculations work out very nicely. The reason I can live on such a low amount here is not because I own a home and it's paid off or any of that, you know, because I wasn't that smart. The reason I can live on $655 a month is because I can move in with the ex-wife. She owns a building that she lives in and has no problem with me staying with her. So there's that. And I can do that for the first 7 years at least. The other thing I could do is, well, I can go over this a little bit more on the logic side, but I can also jump this income to as much as $1,100 a month. And I could just easily just move straight to Mexico. So that's possible too. Anyways, let's go over the logic here. So let's look at the possibilities first out of all of this, all right? So the possibilities that I could have more money than expected. Well, my pension could actually be more than $1,000 a month. Right now, looking at it, it's estimating that it's going to be over 1,000, like 1,200, 1,300, but that's based on my last year's pay. Last year happens to be the most I've gotten paid in my entire life. And I'm not planning on being paid that again this year or in the near future. So I reduced that down to $1,000 a month. My pension could actually be more than $1,000 a month at age 55. Healthcare until age 65, when Medicare kicks in, could also be less than $500 a month because the company subsidizes it as long as I retire from the company at age 55. So that's a possibility that I could have more money. Also, at age 65, Medicare could be less than $500 a month, which could give me more money. And lastly, the market could actually go up, giving me more money. You know, withdrawing 4%. If it goes up, I'm going to be withdrawing more. The ways I could have less money, well, healthcare until 65 could actually be more than $500 a month. Medicare could be more than $500 a month at age 65. I could and probably will have a medical emergency at some point and have to take too much out of my investments over the 4%. And the market could go down. So there are positives and negatives where I could have more money and I could have less money. Now let's go over my logic on this and why I believe it is so conservative and why this should easily be done at age 55. And this is all going to rely on me doing the FIRE movement over the next 6 years, of course, which is just busting ass, living on nothing, saving everything I make. So I am basing my entire retirement off the Roth IRA, as I believe it's the absolute best retirement vehicle available. The tax-free income is too beneficial, and I'm sure I have beneficial spelled wrong there. Yeah, I'm just saying having no taxes on your income is just way too beneficial. That and having access to your contributions. So I will have access to those contributions. Luckily, I'll have about $46,000 I have contributed to the Roth IRA at age 55. And I can use that $46,000 to actually do my 4% withdrawals and increase my income a little bit per month. So that's going to be very helpful, being able to access my IRA before 59.5 with no penalties. No minimum distribution required in the Roth. So once I turn 70.5, I don't have to worry about depleting it or selling stuff when I don't want to sell it or any of that good stuff. There are no minimum distributions on the Roth for my life, only when it's inherited after I die. So that is not a problem. So again, another benefit of the Roth. So my entire retirement will be based around the Roth and the 100 stock dividend growth portfolio at this point. My calculations of the 4% rule, taxes, income, etc. are all estimated and may change depending on circumstances, but they should not be that far off of my actual calculations here. They should be really close. Going with a 5.2% growth, which is very conservative, as the stock market over the last century has given out about 10%. So it could be more, it could be less, depending on what the year is and how the market does. But I think 5.2% is very conservative, considering most people who plan for retirement and most financial advisors and all that go with 7 or 8%. I'm using the 4% rule. If I continue to only take 4%, assuming that the market does continue to grow, then my principal will continue to grow forever, and I will never run out of money, and my income will actually continue to increase. Because as you can see, I'm starting out, once the rollover is done, with about $250,000, and if I live to 100 years old, that would have already grown to $361,000 with a $3,400 income every month. So not too shabby. I am all over the place. Back to the logic here. I'm not accounting for inflation with the 4% withdrawal, so I'm not taking out 4% plus inflation. I'm only counting on taking out 4% of the current value of my Roth. So that means if the market goes up, then I'll take more. If it goes down, I'll take less or possibly none, and I'll explain that in a minute. So I'm willing to fluctuate that way, and because my expenses should be pretty low once I retire. So that's another conservative reason I'm doing it and not accounting for inflation. I could afford to actually take small amounts of principal over 4% on occasion if needed, because obviously I'm not going to live forever, and I'm almost guaranteed not to live to 100. So if I do have to actually draw down on my account over the years, it's not that big of a deal. If I don't take more than 4%, my income continues to grow for the rest of my life and beyond. And I get to leave money to my children. I get to leave children to my money. Yes, I get to leave children to my money. Anyways, I can live on so little for the first 7 years if I live rent-free with the ex-wife, or I can move to Mexico. And I have a friend who's actually planning on buying some land and building a house down there. And he wants me to basically stay there and watch over the place until he retires, because he's younger than me. So that's maybe an option. Either way, I can live on that small amount. Dividend growth investing strategy is the one I pick. I've chosen this for the possibility to actually outperform the market, but it's also got the possibility to underperform the market, versus just owning an ETF or an index fund. But I chose it mainly for the dividend raises, the dividend growth, because the yield on cost will continue to go up over the years. And I think that will outperform. Just my opinion. We will see as time goes. I'll have about $250,000 saved up. So I guess I was wrong at the start of this video. I said 200 to 203. That's how much I'm going to actually be rolling over from the 401k. Plus the 46,500 in the Roth that I contributed to the Roth. So I'll have about 250,000 saved up, with 46,500 of it in the Roth, 203,200 of it in the 401k, and I'll roll that over with ladder Roth conversions. The one thing that I'm really not taking into account here is growth. So this is just contributions to the 401k and the Roth. It's not accounting for any growth. So all the growth over the years, over the next 6 years, should make quite a difference, and I could easily end up with over 300,000. There's no taxes paid on the pension because I have the $12,000 standard deduction, and I'll be getting about $12,000 in pension. So they just kind of cancel each other out. So that's great. No taxes on the pension. I'm only going to be paying taxes on the Social Security, which is smaller because of how Social Security taxes work, and the IRA rollover. So with Social Security, I'll be paying, I estimate, about $1,284 a year. It'll actually be much less than that, if not zero, because later I figured out that Social Security taxes were different than income taxes. So that's awesome. So that'll actually be less. Taxes were based on 2019 tax brackets for federal and state of Arizona. I may be moving to New Mexico, where the taxes were actually a little more favorable. And of course, you know, if I moved to Mexico, I guess Arizona state taxes would still apply, since this is where I'm a resident of. Either way, they're based on current money and not adjusted for inflation. And I'll explain that in a minute, just because, well, I'll just explain now. But basically, I'm not adjusting for inflation at all, because the pension, I believe, does not adjust for cost of living ever. And then the Social Security does adjust for cost of living automatically, and I'm not going to count that. That'll just be bonus, trying to keep up with inflation. And I'm 100% invested in stocks, and stocks are a hedge against inflation. All right, taxes may be adjusted due to the actual income numbers and may be slightly different, but nothing that would make a major difference. And by that, I mean the pension could be bigger, healthcare costs could be a little different, taxes could be slightly different. I could change how much I'm converting over at a time based on how much taxes I want to pay, etc., etc. Could be a little different, but nothing that's major. To reach $203,200 in my 401k, I'm assuming I max it out for 5 years from age 50 to 55, which means I have to get out of debt this year and then start maxing out next year and living on nothing. This is going to be tough to do, but it's possible, and it also doesn't account for growth in the 401k. So if I get growth in my 401k, of course, that'll be all bonus. And this also does not account for makeup contributions. So this is just the max, as if the max was this year under 50 years old. I forgot to count for the 6,000 year catch-up contributions. This is what I was talking about here. So that could make it 25,000 a year instead of 19,000 a year that I could contribute to the 401k, which means I could end up with 125,000 contributed to my 401k over the next six years, or 5 years, over that 5 years, instead of 95,000. It's possible that I could max out the Roth and max out the 401k and still have some money to invest. Kind of unlikely, but possible depending on how much overtime I get. And so I could invest that in a taxable account, so I'll have another brokerage account that I can also work with to give me more income. Or if I qualify, which I don't think I do, I could put it in an HSA, which you can actually use as kind of like a little super retirement thing. And I can go over that another time, but I read an article about how to do that. It's pretty awesome. I may modify the 4% rule a little bit and not withdraw at all on the years the market goes down, and instead withdraw everything except for 1% gain on the years the market goes up, which means that if the market goes up by 8%, I withdraw 7%. And then the next year, if the market goes down by any amount, so if it goes down, say, I'd say it loses 2% or 4%, well, then I just don't withdraw at all. And so the years that it's up more than 4%, the money that I withdraw more of, I can keep in an emergency fund to use for the down market times. So I may try to implement that a little bit with the 4% rule overall. We will see. Of course, it's going to be very tempting to leave the money in there to continue to grow. So we'll see how that goes. But I'm considering modifying it a little bit that way, just to have some more cash on hand, because that is not really planned in this. Excuse me. And yeah, I will be invested 100% into stocks. The reason for that is twofold. One, stocks obviously have better returns. They're also a little more risky. They go up and down more. They're more volatile. Also, I don't really need bonds, because any cash I have on hand, my pension, which is guaranteed income, and Social Security, which is guaranteed income, those can all be treated as bond income, right? I mean, I have guaranteed income at that point. It's not a lot, but my bond allocation wouldn't be a lot anyway. So I'm considering my cash, pension, and Social Security my bond section of my portfolio, which means my portfolio itself will always be 100% stocks. Cost of living increases on Social Security were not calculated in at all, and all the calculations are in today's dollars. So it's very conservative. And I could actually take more as income as my income needs are reevaluated and I get older, because I know I'm not going to live to 100. And I mentioned that up here as well. I could always actually draw down on the portfolio instead of letting it continue to grow. I could also withdraw directly from the 401k or the IRA and pay the 10% penalty and pay 0 taxes for those first 7 years and increase my income for the first 7 years from 55 to 62. I would have less invested overall, though, and that's kind of bad, because then it reduces my income throughout the lifetime, but not by that much, depending on what I do, how much I withdraw. But either way, if I withdraw and just pay the 10% penalty, and I'm only withdrawing $9,700 or less a year, I'm going to pay 0 taxes on that. So 10% is less than a 12% tax bracket. So it's just like paying 10% taxes. Or I could withdraw more from it and pay 10% penalty on just the gains from the 401k and pay 0 taxes on it. So in other words, this isn't accounting for gains, right? This is all contributed money to the 401k. I could withdraw $9,700 a year on those gains and still have this exact plan with no changes. So it's just bonus because of the growth. And then the biggest reason that this is so conservative is I'm counting the 4% rule only on my raw small balance during the first years of this, from 55 to 62. I'm not even counting taking 4% out of the 401k itself, which in theory I could take 4% from as well. So instead of having $650 a month for those first years, I could start out with as much as $1,150 a month if I wanted to, assuming that I follow the 4% rule on the 401k. So this is very conservative figures, figuring only 5.2% growth, no growth accounted for on the 401k at all, no cost of living increases on Social Security, which there will be, possible lower health care. I could also invest in a taxable account on top of this. I could also be contributing more to the 401k with the catch-up contributions, not withdrawing inflation-adjusted 4%, only just the 4%, et cetera, all these other things I've mentioned. Very conservative, right, guys? I think most people would agree that's pretty conservative. Of course, this all does depend on me doing FIRE very hardcore for the next 6 years. Living on nothing, eating rice and beans, and working as much overtime as possible. So it's possible. It shows that starting with only $80,000 net worth and having $33,000 in debt, this can still be done, and you can still retire within 6 years. And this is a decent, like, the starting years are very small incomes, and as long as I'm not paying rent, that's fine. But from here on out, they're decent. It's a decent retirement, right? I mean, you're making over $2,300 a month, way up to $3,000 plus a month. That's pretty average. That's pretty nice for not working. So it's just those first 7 years because I'm retiring early at 55 instead of waiting until 62 plus. The other thing I want to bring up here is if I move to Mexico, my quality of life could be much higher even during these years right here. But if I do that, I would probably be withdrawing some from the 401k and just paying the 10% on it, as if, taking the 4% from it, right? Just to be on the safe side. But either way, I know you could live on this in Mexico if you really had to. But not ideal. But either way, and if my buddy has a house down there already at that point, then so be it. Chances are I could just live there for free or a very low amount. And this would do just fine. So, anyways, that is my retirement plan, guys. I have finally come up with something that works. And it's very conservative, so it's almost guaranteed to work. So I'm very excited. The only thing I have to do from here on out for the next 6 years is bust my ass, live on nothing, and save up about $200,000. Well, I will already have 46.5 in the Roth by then, maxing it out. And then I need to save up, I'll have about 100,000 in the 401k already after I pay the loan off to myself. So that means I only need to save $100,000 right there. So 100 plus almost 50,000, right? $140,000, something like that. And if I can, because I can use catch-up contributions, then I could save even more. So I need to save $140,000 to $180,000 basically over the next 6 years. That's tough, but with me saving 70+% of my income, it's possible. And that's my plan. So let me know what you guys think. Let me know if there's something big that I'm forgetting and you're thinking like, damn, you're an idiot, Bill. You don't even think about this. But I've gone over this for 2 days and I believe this is going to work. I believe this is going to work pretty damn well for me. And I'm not worried about this at all because I am going to be living rent-free or on very small rent if I am in Mexico. And then secondly, I can increase this without it ruining my entire plan. So I'll be all right. So anyways, there it is, guys. Like I said, let me know what you think, and I hope you're all doing well. All right, guys, thanks for watching. I appreciate it. Be sure to hit that subscribe button down below, and if you liked the video, hit that like button for me. If you want to hear any specific type of information, anything that you're interested in, you have any questions, just drop me a comment down below. Let me know what you think. Let me know your opinions on this video or any other video I've made. And if you know anyone else that might be interested in this video, please be sure to share it on your social media and share the knowledge. Thanks, guys.